I first wanted to start off with the price. With our discount code, this board is only $664. Besides maybe the ISINWHEEL V10, this I believe is the cheapest all-terrain board you can get. And yes, I would choose this over the ISINWHEEL V10. I also wanted to mention that I've been rooting for VEYMAX for a very long time now. If you're familiar with the channel, you know we covered all their boards, plus dropped a ton of content including tutorials, helpful videos, but my point is it feels good to be standing by a company for so long, have faith in them from the beginning, and also how they appreciate our input. And now one of the biggest underdogs in the e-skate game is finally making a splash in the e-skate community. They have very good customer service, their street boards are hella fun. I still beat up my VEYMAX Séjour. It will not break, it's like a tank. I even brought that board and the X4 on vacation with my girl and it was awesome. Links in the description if you want to check out those videos. As for the deck is made up of Canadian maple wrapped in fiberglass and an epoxy for maximum strength and longevity. The total weight of the board is about 27.5 pounds and the max load is 330 pounds. Now some people thought this was a much smaller board, about the same size as a LINNPOWER Zephyr and the Ace-Tech S3 Breeze, but as you can see, it's much bigger than the Parsec and the VEYMAX Séjour and just a little bit smaller than the Evolve Haitian. Now I think that's a really good thing. I think the Zephyr and the S3 Breeze are a little bit smaller and I'm a smaller rider. This is just that right size that is not as big as a Diamond Dozen all-terrain board, but still a little smaller. When it's too small, it's kind of too twitchy, but when it's not as big, you get more control. As for the wheels, the VEYMAX NYMPH is utilizing 160mm by 55mm Tovitz all-terrain tires. Now the tread pattern actually kind of reminds me of the first Ace-Tech Nomad tires, just not as wide and bulky. I think wider contact patch tires are a bit overrated. It takes away from your agility. Now I know some people may say it's better for the track because you can take turns a lot harder, which requires more friction. But being able to take that corner makes it a little bit harder because of the wheel is so wide. So as an everyday rider, not a track rider, I wouldn't sacrifice that agility. As for the trucks, the VEYMAX NYMPH is utilizing 7075 aluminum precisioned CNC reverse kingpin trucks, 8mm axles. The front bushings are 85A and the rear bushings are 90A. Now these trucks are beautiful. Probably the best reverse kingpin trucks I've seen on a production all-terrain board. Speaking of which, the only other reverse kingpin truck on an all-terrain board that I personally like is the Hoyt Tabor. I've also tested the Defiant board, which isn't an all-terrain board, and I didn't really like those super wide reverse kingpin trucks on that board anyway. So if you like the Hoyt Tabor reverse kingpin trucks, you're gonna like these. Otherwise, I think reverse kingpin trucks belong on street boards like boosted style boards. Now here's where things get a little bit tricky. On the right is their standard tall barrel that goes in both trucks, and the other bushings are Riptide's standard crank barrels, which I always throw in different boards. These bushings always just liven up the board. They really wake it up and enhance the carving and turning radius. But the VEYMAX NYMPH utilizes two tall bushings on each truck. So I decided to buy the proper size from Riptide, because if you use the smaller regular crank barrels from Riptide, the board will just be all kinds of jiggly wiggly. It doesn't fit properly. So here's to show the size difference from the regular crank barrels I'm always using versus the tall barrels, both from Riptide. Now here's how it rides with two tall Riptide bushings in each truck, 93A in the rear and 90A up front. Still feels pretty restricted. So I'm thinking if I use the regular crank barrels and I use two washers, it won't be as tall as the stock bushings or the Riptide tall bushings. So the rear, stock board side tall bushing on the bottom, and on the top, Riptide's crank barrel with two flat washers on top, and then tighten it down a few threads. So here's a direct comparison. The top video is the tall bushings from Riptide, and then the bottom view is the crank barrels with two washers, and that's mixed with one stock tall bushing on the board side for each truck. Now you can do it with even just one washer, but I thought that was just too jittery. Okay, so let's do a turning radius test. The trucks, I have the one stock tall bushing, 90A from VEYMAX, and then I have a 93A from Riptide that is another tall bushing. About 2.5 threads showing, okay? Then for the fronts, Riptide's 90A tall bushing and another Riptide tall 90A bushing. So usually with riptide, you gain back a lot of carve and you gain back a lot of agility and turning radius. But since I think that tall bushings, or at least this tall of a bushing, shouldn't be in these trucks, let me show you what I mean. All right, so we'll put all my weight on the edge here. Let's do it again. Oof. It's even hard to just do a full circle, let alone I have all this space. Okay, I'm gonna put all my weight on the edges. Here we go, ready? All right, here we go. I mean, look how much freaking space I'm taking up. Jesus. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I don't think tall bushings, or at least this tall bushings, belong in these trucks. Okay, now let's do another turning radius based on what I think this board should utilize when it comes to the bushings. All right, my recommendation, stock rear tall bushing on the board side bottom. Then on the top, a crank barrel, not a tall, a regular crank barrel with 2 flat washers, and then your bolt. That has more threads showing, about 3 threads showing, as opposed to before was, I think, maybe 1.5, maybe 2. And then up front, another tall riptide barrel on board side, but the top is the crank barrel, which is the regular crank barrel, not a tall barrel, with the 2 flat washers, and about 3 threads showing, 2.5 to 3 threads showing. Let's see the difference. Definitely better. Is it as good as a double kingpin? Of course not. But the turning radius is much better. Much better. Phew. Now listen, I could be wrong. I'm not a builder, but I'm saying this with my recommendation as a rider and a tester. I don't think those stock bushings are the way to go. I think they're a little bit too tall. The formula might be fine, because when I switch out the tall riptides, it still felt the same. So again, I don't think those really tall bushings should be in there. Now, let me be very clear. These reverse kingpin trucks, just like the Hoyt reverse kingpin trucks, are awesome. Especially when you get up to speed, they do carve great. But if you guys want that more agility kind of feel, I just think these bushings are just a little bit too tall. I also like how they're not really wide. I've rode tons of DIY boards with super wide reverse kingpin trucks, just like the Defiant board, and they just feel out of whack. And get this, you can also buy these trucks separately for your DIY. Use our discount code, do a quick bushing swap, and you're all good. As for the motors, the VEYMAX NYMPH is utilizing Hobbywings 5250 4500 watt peak power 170 kV belt drive motors. I also always appreciate a free bash guard. A bash guard not only acts as a nice handle, but it also protects the motors both while riding and standing it upright. As for the ESC, the VEYMAX NYMPH is utilizing Hobbywings reliable ESC auto on and off feature, pushing 30 amps. The housing and the ESC itself is 6061 T651 construction build that maximizes heat dissipation. This will prevent the electronics from overheating. As for the remote, the VEYMAX NYMPH is utilizing the latest Hobbywing remote. No complaints from me. Never any cutouts, never any disconnects, never any faulty full throttles. The remote screen has all the data you need, your speed, your battery meter for your board, battery meter for your remote, your miles, your trip miles, your speed modes, reverse, cruise control, and auto on and auto off. But I really wish they had some kind of logo on the remote. So since there's no logo on the remote, I just took a piece of tape and just wrote NYMPH on it so I know which remote is which. As for the battery, the VEYMAX NYMPH is utilizing a 12S 3P 648 watt hours, 15 amp hours, 50E EVE cells. Now, if you want even more range, you can go for the Pro model, which is a 12S 4P with 864 watt hours. As for range, I'm a 160 pound rider and the temperature is about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I rode in mostly mode 4, but a little bit in mode 3. I got a total of 18.5 miles on the all-terrain setup with the VEYMAX NYMPH. Now just for you guys, I decided to do another range test, but in street setup. I rode a mixture of the 105 boosted and the 105 dad bods, but I rode mostly the 105 boosted wheels. Now this can obviously utilize street wheels, but I must tell you the motor mounts are a little bit strange, meaning whatever pulleys you're using, the belt size for that pulley needs to be a lot bigger from what you're used to using. For instance, I was utilizing a 36T pulley, which usually has about a 265 belt, give or take, depending on the motor mount. With this board, I had to use a 300 belt for 36T. Now for range, I got a total of 26.4 miles using the boosted and the dad bods. Okay guys, here we go. Giant hill test, same hill we always use. VEYMAX NYMPH, speed mode 4, almost full battery. See how she does. All right, full throttle. Remote says 19 miles per hour. Not pushing past 18, 19 miles per hour. All right. As expected, riding this for almost a month now, it will not fly up a hill. Will it get up it? Sure, but it's not gonna fly up a hill. Let's check the rider app. Yep, 18 miles per hour right on the nose with the GPS report. Okay guys, here we go. Top speed test on the VEYMAX NYMPH. Almost full battery, speed mode 4. All right, let's do it. Your remote says 31, 32. Stuck at 32. All right. All right, let's check the rider app. 29.9 miles per hour, and that was on flat ground. Let's call it 30 miles per hour. Remote said 32. So I'd say the remote is maybe 1 to 2 miles per hour off, but I think 30 miles per hour is plenty for this size board. Okay, here is my biggest issue with this board is the acceleration. In my opinion, the acceleration is actually just disappointing. It's that simple. Let's check it out. Speed mode 4, almost full battery. 1, 2, 3, go. I mean, it's finally picking up. Now listen, for the price point, I'm not expecting a pocket rocket. Not even as powerful as a base model Zephyr or the base model ASEC S3. Forget about them. Those are street boards, made very well, so is this, but this is an all-terrain version. I still think that this could utilize more power. Okay, let's do a brake test at 15 miles per hour. 1, 2, 3, go. Could be better, could be worse. But yeah, that's probably something else I would improve, the braking. A few things worth mentioning. As expected, the unboxing experience is great. Very well packed, very secure. You got your owner's manual, your tools, your extra bolts and nuts, extra belts, stickers, owner's manual, 2.5 amp charger, remote and remote charger. Now, I really like the polish and finish on the board. Some people may not like this hot pink. I kind of do. It's different. It's got some cool final touches. Even the wheel axle bolt is this hot pink, and it's a bigger size nut, just like the nut from the actual trucks when we tighten and loosen them up. So when you use your T-tool, it's going to be the same size on the tool to use with your actual truck. Now, also the wheel bearing is bigger than our traditional wheel bearings that we use with our 8mm axles. I personally always enjoy replacing stock bearings. Usually stock bearings from production companies are just kind of average. I always like to replace them with built-in spacers and speed rings for maximum free roll and better range. Now, as you can see on the right side of the ESC, there is a little bit of a gap compared to the left side. I talked to VEYMAX about this. They said that they are fixing it. Future batches should not have this issue. If for some reason yours still has it, let them know. My 2.5 amp charger was malfunctioning along with a few other reviewers I was chatting with. If yours is still like this, contact VEYMAX, but they should have it fixed by the time you get yours. I also think a 2.5 amp charger is far too small for this board. I think they should give a 4 amp charger to everybody. The 2.5 amp charger just takes way too long to charge. Final thoughts. As I mentioned before, I have been rooting for VEYMAX since the beginning. I enjoy their products very, very much. The VEYMAX Séjour I still beat up to this day. The boards are very reliable, very durable, and they have very good customer service and even interact with riders on Instagram daily. Now, what I love about this board, other than its polish and finish, is that it's not big. It's an all-terrain board that's semi-small, but not as small as something like the LINNPOWER Zephyr. Now, I do like smaller boards like that, even if they're street or all-terrain or 2-in-1 like this. But with the LINNPOWER Zephyr or even the Parsec, my actual stance is a little bit cramped due to the deck's small dimensions and small wheelbase. With this deck's dimensions and wheelbase, it's perfect. Do I wish it had more power? Yes, I do. Maybe they'll change that in the near future. Maybe the customers can change it or update it with the Hobbywing app. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. But I will say this, if the power was about the same or even more than a base model Zephyr or the Asetek Stella S3, this board would kind of be like an evolutionary game changer for the skate community. No other board has this type of size with reverse kingpin trucks, with all-terrain, with the capabilities of switching to street, with this polish, customer service, and this price. And if you need even more range, you can go for the Pro model. Use our discount code ESKATEUNITY at checkout. Thank you for watching, guys. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Have a good one, guys.